Tractate Sanhedrin, page 78. The subject of primary force and secondary force is the key discussion of today, based on the several dapim. When it's come to the law of murderer, we differentiate between direct murderer versus something that happened by primary force or second force that things happen. Some example. Let's go by the medical field, for example, passive euthanasia. Someone who's in the severe situation, he or she is in a ventilator or respirator, and while the nurses cleaning the respirator periodically, maybe once a day or every several hours, they basically when they reconnect the respirator, it takes time until it takes really effect. Plus, most of the doctors agree upon that in general, the need of patients, in a sense of urgent need for that respirator versus their capability to breathe and have their oxygen independently, is a period of time. It's called in the halachic world hasarat hamonea. The late Tzitz Eliezer, great Rabbi Waldenberg, have several responses on that. If the nurses have the obligation to reconnect the respirator. Why is that? It's called hasarat hamonea, meaning it was a Dr. Meir from Israeli Shaarei Tzedek Hospital in Jerusalem asked the late Rabbi Waldenberg, while the nurses need to take care of cleaning all these secretions, for example, that comes out of the lung, and they periodically cleanse the respirator, if they have the obligation, if someone is terminally ill, to reconnect the respirator. Why? Because that's basically second. It's not primary force, but it can consider a second force that creates a capability of, in the long run, for the patient not to make it, which is in a way maybe some sort of passive euthanasia, which obviously in a general term of halakha we're not allowed to expedite demise of by anyone, but we have a lot of indirect applications. For example, even to take as simple as the law of washing hands. So as you know, you need to pull out from the faucet the water and wash hands. So how about those who have it by the legs, who have a special paddle, and when you push the paddle, the water runs, and sometimes you don't need to do more than once, and the water is already running constantly. Is that considering his direct force for when it's come to netilat yadayim, the same as those who under those circumstances do not have natala, not have someone that can wash the hands? So it's indirect connection to our sugya. We're going to deal also with ilchot gosses, which is unfortunately practical, people in the last breath of their lives, and therefore in a way it's almost like in our hands bidei adam versus bidei shamayim, in the heavenly tribunal decision. So here we talk about direct force and secondary source, because the idea is, take for example the water. So if you have the primary source force, if is the water adjust to the partition, which when the partition is removed flows over him, and the secondary force is the water that flows thereafter. So the whole idea of primary source, some say that is the water that flows immediately from the channel, and the secondary force is the first flow to one side and then diverted to that person. But why is it so important? Because here we have a case, for example, the first case of a person who bound another person and diverted the flow of water upon him. So even by tightening the person, is basically tightening him in order to avoid him from running away. But since he diverted the flow of water, later on it didn't happen right away. But take for example Rashi in Chulin, page 16, give us a good scenario. It was a fellow that put a hole in that big wall, and that was basically a partition, לחסום מעבר המים, that avoided the flow of the water. And the place that his fellow was, the fellow he bound, he basically opened it. So indirectly he caused him in the long run to sink, to drown, and to die. So how do you treat it? Do you treat it as the same as we talked yesterday, that is a tantamount to his arrow, and is a matter of committing a murder, or you say that it's not? So here we differentiate between the primary force and secondary force, which is after the water flow on its own, and you can argue and you say that it's not his action. So here we talk about a limitation. We try to circumscribe the force when it's come to the law of murder. And obviously there is way more to discuss. Soon you see a lot of practical halachot. So let's start on page 77b, 8 lines from the bottom of the page. אמר רב פאפא, היימן דחפתי לחברי והשקלה לבדקה דמיה גיירי דידהו ומחייו. Said if a fellow, he bound another, Reuven bound Shimon, and then he diverted a flow of water on him, and then consequently later on he died. So basically you see here that the water is tantamount of his arrow, because the murder was in a way indirected. So he said, Hanemile bechoach rishon. All of that we apply to a primary force. So because it was close to him and diverted the water, so he drowned by the water. Aval bekoach sheni grama be'almau. But if it was the secondary force, so it's just, you can argue and you say that it's indirect action, and you cannot force. Basically, he's exempt. The Rambam holds the same in Hot Rotzeach Ushmirat HaNefesh, chapter 3. He said that if the water was discharged by his primary force, so obviously you can call him murder and executed him. Otherwise, not. But it's important to know that when it's come to this, there is a concept that's called Hasarat Amonea. So there is a big argument here. He has a book called Tvuot Shor. Is another book called Response Shvut Yaakov, Ayin Vav, chapter 76, and others. You see it in the Rashash in Chulin 16. They all argue how far you can say that it was clearly in the person's intent. ואמר רב פאפא, זרק צרור למעלה והלכה לצדדים, which is the stones he threw upward, and it was diverted to a different side. So it's just one of those sides. So the Yad Ramah argued and said that we can make him liable because the first place he threw the stones, but the Rambam said that if one throw a stone large enough to kill, and the stone went to the side and kill a person, he is executed as a murder. Again, that's the view of Rav Papa. But it's a book called Yad Ramah that he's argued for the all liability here. Again, we argue over the intent of a person versus the consequences. But anyway, he said here, Amar li Mar Breder Rav Ashi veRav Papa Mai Ta'ama Mishum Dekochohu. So he said that it's all because it's the person force. And he said, Ikocho Teizel Velael. If you tell me that it happens by the force of his action, so the stone should go directly upward where he threw it, and not on the side. Page 78. So a Papa answered, typical Jewish, with a question, opposing question. He said, "V'ilav kochohu," if it's not the force of the person's action that he throw the stone, teizil letachat. Let's go down and not at the side. So they said, "Ela koach kachushu." It's a very weak force. The force of his action is partial caused by the damage. It's not total. And so you can go to a Rashi here and see that he basically put two different items in the matter of force. As we said, it can be a primary force, but the problem is the way that the force go down is it's not straight. It's go by it moves. So because it's different, there's a teshuva. It's a response from the Yerushalayim Rav Frank, Tzvi Pesach Frank. He asked how you treated the primary force versus second force when the stone diverted to a total different direction. How you compare the intent of throwing one thing from one location to another with something that happened in indirect. He said, even as we said earlier, the law of Netilat Yadayim can go and argue the same thing. When someone used a different force that it diverted, and later on you can use it indirectly, for example, even a simple mitzvah as Netilat Yadayim. Anyway, Tanu Rabbanan, this is a well-known sugya. You see in a book called Pardet Yosef, in Parashat Tetzaveh, that he explained beautifully the whole sugya. And it's a matter of fact that my brother-in-law, in his beautiful book called Daf al Daf, Rav David Avraham Mandelbaum, he elaborates on this sugya based on this Pardet Yosef. But let's go first to the sugya. Tanu Rabbanan, היכו 10 בני אדם ב10 מקלות ומת. 10 people beat another with sticks and he died. So whether they stuck him successively or simultaneously, they all are exempt from execution by the court. One is liable to be executed as a murderer only if he alone caused the individual death. That's the first Tana. תנו רבנן היכו 10 בני אדם ב10 מקלות ומת. בין בבת אחת, בין בזה אחר זה כולם פטורים. Regardless if it happens together or one subsequently follow others. The sages said that they exempt Rabbi Yehuda ben Beteira, that's one of the great martyrs, right? 10 martyrs. So Rabbi Yehuda ben Beteira אומר, בזה, אז זה אחר זה, האחרון חייב בני שיקרב את מיתתו. So he holds that the last one is liable because he has to hasten his demise. So obviously there is a lot of a thought that if you remember in Bava Kama, we talk about Pete and other issues, that the last one is like the one who, how do you call it, broke the camel, is the so that broke the camel. The last one make it, he expedites the person, hasten his demise. אמר רבי יוחנן ושניהם מקרא אחד דרשו. Both Chachamim and Rabbi Yehuda ben Beteira derived from one pasuk, because they said in Leviticus 24 verse 17, ואיש כי יכה כל נפש אדם, רבנן סברי כל נפש הדאיקה כל נפש, ורבי יהודה בן בטרה סבר כל נפש כל דהו נפש, which is any soul even if the victim had already been beaten and was close to death. המרא והכל מודים בהורגת הטריפה. So he said one who killed one who was wounded, that's called in the Talmudic language טריפה שהוא פטור. Why? Because we hold that the wounded is חשוב כמת, טריפה חשוב כמת, as far as the it's like if the animal or a person has such a blemish that eventually will cause him to die. It's just a matter of time. So there is a special chapter 3 in Tractate Chulin, that speak a lot in the law of kashrut, law of the animals, when it's come to this. But anyway, begoses bidei shamayim, the person is about to die, so is from an illness caused at the hand of the heaven, so he's liable, and is no other individual took action contributed to his death. So, and the murderer alone took his remaining soul. So the whole idea is, you see someone who's ill, and you have a person that just over-medicated him or her, in any form of hasten a demise is a violation of the Torah law, shehu chayav. That's considered chay lekol davar. The book called Minchat Chinuch in chapter 37 that have a big write-up over that. Lo nechelku, the whole disputation, ela begoses bidei adam. Goses bidei adam, which means a person is dying for injury that caused by people, by human, by another person. Mar medamela litreifa, tana kama, compare it to a treifa, which is a wounded person, so therefore he exempting from a death. Mar medamela Rabbi Yehuda ben Beteira legoses bidei shamayim, that one who is dying from an illness caused by the hand of heaven. So therefore, he said that the rules that the one who kills him is liable. Now, here's the word of the Rambam, Hilchot Rotzeach U'Shmirat HaNefesh, chapter 2. One who kills a person who is a treifa, even if the victim was completely functional, which is he was walking, eating and drinking before his murder, the one who killed him is not liable to be executed by the court, as we said. Here we differentiate between one who's dying in the hand of heaven, one who's dying in the hand of a person. One who kills a dying person is liable to be executed by basically saif, hariga. If he was dying due to a blow or a wounded administered by another person, his killer is not liable to be executed by the court. Basically the view of rabbis and Rava. So the Gemara said, Man de medamela letrefa, mai ta'ama lo medamela legoses bidei shamay. So he said, the one who compared this case to the case of treifa, the wounded person, what's the reason that it is not compared to the case of individual dying from an illness that caused at the hand of heaven? So the Gemara explained, Goses bidei shamayim lo it'avid beima'aseh. The one who's dying by the hand of heaven, so you don't have any physical action that performed by the person who killed him. So therefore, individual dying injury caused by the hand of a person. Hai it aved beimase, an action performed by individual to killing. So you see here in the case of two people who perform an action together, they are not liable. Uman de medamele legoses bidei shamayim mai ta'ama lo medamele letreifa. The one who compared to like it to one who died by the hand of heaven, why is not compared to treifa, to individual that is wounded? So he said treifa mechatchei simanim. Says when it's come to treifa, it's like one whose organs, all these pieces, you have, it's called in Hebrew evarim chiyuniyim. You have this very basic, Rashi said, of limbs, of organs that need. They said that so we basically consider that as a dead. It's just a matter of time, because those part of his body, people can survive, God forbid, without fingers, without hands, but there are certain part of the body that we all know that people cannot make it. Just a matter of time if those parts wounded. Ha lo mechatchei simanim. But here, when this person is goses bidei adam, is dying by the hand of the people, You don't, whose organs, all they are cut, and is there no particular defect. Rather, he's like one who's suffering from general frailty, like any frail or elderly individual. The Rabbi Yehuda, the great rabbi of Prague, a well-known story, some attribute to Reb Avish of Frankfurt. But anyway, the story goes that they have this minhag, they have this tradition that the community rabbi always appointed the next one, and in all Europe the tradition was that when the rabbi was close to the end, in the act of Gosses, that was the time that he appointed. So the story goes again, legends and stories and myths are all possibility. I'm just referring the way I have heard it. So the great Rabbi Landau, the author of Rabbi Yehuda, he was close to his end. So people came around his deathbed and asked him a question: who will be the next spiritual leader of this large Jewish community? And his answer was, whoever follow Rab Meir's view. And people really did not understand it. Later on, much later, the next spiritual leader of that large Prague, Czechoslovakia, those days, Jewish community, explained what the great Rabbi Landau, the Rabbi Yehuda, said. He said, we learn the Chachamim view, as we learned several times, that Rov Gossesin Lemita, that most of the people who are in a deathbed close to the end, they eventually will die. But the way that the Gemara referred to us, not only in this sugya but in other sugyot as well, is that Rabbi Meir Choshesh Lemiuta, which means Rabbi Meir goes by the minority, which is the few, which is in some cases everyone gives up hope and they say that the person is not going to make it, and either supernaturally or whatever it is, it turns that that person get better and healed. So it means that Rav Landau, the Rabbi Yehuda, always had this great faith that he will feel better, and that basically was his answer at that time. Anyway, Tanei Tana Kamed Rav Sheshet V'ish ki yake kol nefesh adam להביא את המכה את חברו ואין בו כדי להמית ובאחר במיתו שהוא חייב. So here he derived from the pasuk in Leviticus 24, and a man will strike any soul mortally. So he said that again we derive from that to include someone who struck another and it is a blow which is not sufficient force to kill him, and then someone else came in and the second one, he is the cause of his death, so he is liable, the second one is liable. So ein bo kedei la'amid pshita, if the first one will not have sufficient to kill him, so that's obvious. אלא יש בו כדי להמית ובאחר במיתו שהוא חייב. Basically the first one, who is the primary source because he was the first force, he was the first one, he is capable to kill him, but it didn't happen. And the second one was the one who is makeh b'patish, who is the one who make it happen. So therefore, that's the liability. Ustama ki Rabbi Yehuda ben Beteira. Even this is unattributed braita. We follow the view of Rabbi Yehuda ben Beteira, who hold that the person who is the finalized, who completes the killing, he is basically liable to be executed as murderer. אמר רב ההורג את הטרפה פטור וטרפה שהרג בפני בית דין חייב שלו בדין פטור. So here he holds that someone who killed Trophimus, we explained earlier, someone who severely wounded for all kind of reasons, so he killed it, he said that he is, as far as the liability, he is exempt, but if the Trophi himself killed, so if it was at the front of the court, so obviously he is liable, otherwise he's not. בפני בדין מייתם החייב. So why we said that if he did it at the front of the court he is liable, said דכתיבו ביערת הרע מקרבך. The Torah said in Deuteronomy 13 that you shall eradicate the evil from your midst. So the whole idea of mitzvah that the court eradicate evil, that its witnesses first hand. שלא בבדין פטור, דאבל לעדות שאתה יכול להזימה, ויכול עדות שאתה יכול להזימה לא שמה עדות. So we have the general rule that any type of testimony that cannot bring conspiring witnesses, so it's not under the category of testimony, and therefore you cannot accept it in the court system. ואמר רב הרובה את הטרפה חייב, טרפה שרבה בפני בדין חייב, שלא בפני פטור, בפני בדין חייב דכתיב וביארת הרע מקרבך, שלא בפני בדין פטור, דאבל לעדות שאתה יכול להזימה. So the Gemara asks, "Hatu lamali, hainu hach." These two cases are basically the same thing. Istricha lema udetema le'ever kemad demishamesh met velipater kamashman demishum anaharu ve'anait lei. So there is a famous Orach Chaim HaKadosh, Rabbeinu Chaim ben Atar, the great Moroccan Israel rabbi. We ask a question about the famous story of Joseph and his brothers in the book of Bereshit. So the Torah said that all the brothers clandestinely are planning to come get together and kill Joseph. So we ask a question. We read in the Torah the famous story how Shimon and Levi, the two brothers, slaughtered the entire city of Shechem. So why do they need to have the entire decorum of 10 brothers? Shimon and Levi individually can do that independently. One person cannot do that, to kill Joseph. So they felt that Bidinei Shamayim, as far as the heavenly court, he have all the category to deserve this. But they felt that is not enough, so they need to bring a minion. They need to bring 10 people. So that's the reason, the same as we said here in our sugya. What we said in our sugya, we said that if יקרו 10 בני אדם ב10 מקלות במת, so according to Rabbi Ben Meter, האחרון חייב שקרב את מיתתו, but basically the whole concept is that you have 10 people, so that's basically the reason to execute him. But והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו מידם, the Almighty saved Joseph. etc. is also since we talk about משמש מת, so the famous Khatam Sofer, you see also in the reading of the Maharam Shif. So he asked a question about a baby that was born, and the doctors not give that baby more than a year to live. So they ask a question based on our sugya if we do the Brit Milah, and basically they rule both Maharam Shif and Khatam Sofer that he should have the bris. Reminds me a famous story about a mother that just before they took her and the children to the gas chamber, she asked the Nazis to have the knife and she circumcised her son, and she said, I better to have him die as a Jewish circumcised boy and not otherwise. But anyways, they also responsible from the Chebiner Rav, the rabbi of Chebin, was asked a question about Meshamesh Met. Meshamesh Met is basically someone who is in our modern day language is someone who's not capable to have children, some type of impotent or ED issues. So the whole question, he was like at his 20s and he have no hair by any means, no public hair. So therefore the argument is that they married him, so the other party are aware of that. And the question is that have Chalot Kiddushin, is that there's any manner of Kiddushin? So based on our Sugya, the Chebiner Rav ruled that he doesn't need to give a get, because the whole concept of Kiddushin, the Chebiner Rav argues, based on our Sugya, you should hold that Kiddushin Nimseru Lebiyah, that the whole purpose of one before the woman is in order to have relations and to have the fruitful and multiply mitzvah. So here in this case, since it was Meshamesh Met, so Kiddushin lo nimseru lebiyah. If Kiddushin lo nimseru lebiyah, therefore you don't have Chalot Kiddushin. If you don't have Chalot Kiddushin, you don't have to give the get. That's basically Malach, based on our sugya of the Chebiner Rav. ואמר רבא, עדים שהעידו בטריפה והוזמו אין נהרגים. עדי טריפה שהוזמו נהרגים. רבא שאמר אפילו עדי טריפה שהוזמו אין נהרגים, לפי שאינם בזומני זוממים. Just like to read here the sugya and then we elaborate. אמר רבא, שור טריפה שהרג חייב, ושור של אדם טריפה שהרג פטור, מהייתם אמר קרא, השור יסכל וגם בעליו יומת. כל אחד דקרינן בי וגם בעליו יומת, קרינן בי השור יסכל. וכל אחד לא קרינן בי וגם בעליו יומת, לא קרים לבעל שור סקל רבה, שאמר אפילו שור תפנה משרק פטור, מה איתמה? כיוון דאילו בעלים אבו פתירי שור נמי פטור. שיסה בו את הכלב, if one set a dog against individual and the dog killed him, or if one set a snake against an individual and the snake killed him, the one who set the dog or the snake is exempt from punishment. Why? Because if he embodied the snake's fangs into another person and caused the snake to bite him or kill him, then Rabbi Yehuda said that he is liable to be executed, and the sages exempt him. So he said, אמר רבא בר יעקב, וכשתמצא לומר דברי רבי יהודה, ארס נחש בין שיניו הוא עומד, לפיכך מקיש בסייד ונחש פטור. ודברי חכמים, ארס נחש מעצמו הוא מקיא. So basically, according to the sages, the chachamim, the venom, the bite of the snake is, the whole idea is the venom of a snake is discharged by the snake itself. So the snake directly causes the death, while the individual who embeds the fang is merely an indirect cause. So consequently, the snake is executed by stoning, and the one who caused the snake to bite is exempt from execution. But the language of the Rambam, Ilchot Nizkei Mamon, chapter 10, I'm reading from the Koren edition, a snake discharges its venom of its own volition. Therefore, if one sets a snake against another, he is not liable to be executed by the court, and the snake is executed. Remind me during the first Lebanon war. So a big part of the operation of IDF was in those bunkers in South Lebanon. So many times you come back from a mission, there is a huge, crazy, big, dangerous, hungry snakes. And it's really either your life or their life. If you don't kill those snakes, forget it. So do not. Sometimes they're waiting for you in the bunker if you don't block the entrance. So sometimes it's just you pick and choose. Either you survive or the snakes survive because they are hungry sometimes. Anyway, there is a מקובל, Rabbi Shimon מאוסטרופולה, Rabbi Shimon מאוסטרופולה, who Hashem ייקום דמו, he died by the evil people during World War II. So the shoot יהודה יעלה in חלק ב' קנ"ה, he brought this Rabbi Shimon מאוסטרופולה. Also it's brought from the Vilna Gaon in the book called המאור הגדול. So the whole idea of ein hanachash memit elachet memidas, the Mishnah tells us that the sin killed, not the snake killed. So the middle letter of the word nachash, nun chet shin. So the middle letter is chet, and the word satan, the middle letter is tet. So together is what? Chet and tet. And therefore, what's left in the letter nachash, in the word nachash, is shin and nun. And the Satan is Shin and Nun. So that's the idea, Eres Nachash, the bite of a snake. That the Koach HaHezek, the potential of damage and the poison, the Ra'al, that come out of the snake, Ben Shinav Omed. It's between his teeth, because between the two shinning, between the two leather shins of Nachash, Nun Chet Shin, and Satan, Sin Tet Nun. Ha-chet, that it means the sin is the one who caused the death, not the snake. That's Rabbi Shimon of Ostropola, Hashem ייקום דמו. משנה, מכה את חברו בין באבן בין באגרוף ועמדו למיתה והקל ממה שהיה. So someone who striked, that the Torah said in the book of Shemot 21:18, one who strike another, whether he does with the stone or with his fist. So va'amadu lemita, and the Beth Din, they assessed in his condition that is lead to death. Vehikal mashaya, and then the situation get better. V'lachar me'ken ichbid v'met, and then again it changed back, and he passed away. So chayav. So the makeh, the one who's striking, is the same as a regular rotzeach, the regular murder, and therefore the Meiri said because he's not hivri legamre, he's not totally get well, so therefore even the condition improved for certain time, but still since eventually he died, then the murderer is considered a murderer by all notion of liability. Not everyone agree with that. Rabbi Nehemiah Omer Patur שרגליים לדבר. He said that he's exempt because he said that he's a basis. We're assuming that he's not liable because the victim's condition is in turn, which is a cause other than the blow struck by the assailant ultimately caused his death. So that's the whole concept of shigegaga, unintentional or unwittingly. Tanu Rabbanan et zod darash Rabbi Nehemiah. Rabbi Nehemiah derived from the Torah in Book of Shemot, chapter 21, verses 18-19. The Torah said, "Vehika ish et re'eu," a person struck each other, v'nafal mishkav. So they said, "Im yakum v'yitalech bachutz," if the person rises and walk outside. Page 78b, "Al mishanto v'nitka makeh." So upon his steps and then he struck him, so he's absolved. So the idea is, you mean to say that one is walking in the marketplace and the other one be executed as a murder? אלא זה שעמדו למיטה והקל ממה שהיה ולאחר מכן הכביד באמת שהוא פטור, because he changed and now eventually comes back and then he passed away, so as far that we exempt him. That's the Rambam, you see also in the case of Mishneh, in Ilchot Rotzeach Ushmirat HaNefesh, chapter 4, he said, if one strikes another and the doctors predict that the person will die as a result of the blow, and he recovers somewhat, and then his condition deteriorates and die, the person who struck him is executed. That's basically the unattributed view of in the Mishnah. ורבנן חי ונקרא מכה מיידר שבה, מלמד שחובשים אותו, incarcerated. ורבי נחמיה חבישה מנהלי יליף ממקושש. ורבנן למה ללפי ממקושש בר קטלו ומשה לא אבא ידע קטלה במאי, והפוקי הידה היא הדין בר קטלו הוא אילה בר קטלו. ורבי נחמיה יליף מגדל מגדף דאבה ידעי בר קטלו וחבשו. ורבנן מגדף הוראת שעה הייתה. כדתניא יודע משה רבנו שם קושש במיטה שנאמר מחלה המות יומטל, לא יודע באיזו מיטה נהרג, שנאמר כאילו פורש, וגומר אבל מגדף לא נאמרה בו אלא לפרוש להם על פי השם, שלא היה משה יודע אם הוא בן מיטה כל עיקר אם לאו. ויש למד רבי נחמיה בכתיב תראום דנה, אחד עמדו למיטה וחיה, ואחד עמדו למיטה ויקל ממה שהיה. אלה רבנן תראום דנה למה לי, אחד עמדו למיטה וחיה, ואחד עמדו לחיים במת. ורבי נחמיה עמדו לחיים במת לא צריך קרא שלצם בדין זכאי. In general, we should see that the rabbinic literature, rabbinic law, are very much opposed the whole concept of jail. You see here a very clear concept. You have this concept of capital punishment, you have a concept of severe payment, but you don't have jail concept, which is not in general in a spirit. You see here in the spirit of rabbinic teaching. Tanu Rabbanan המכה את חברו ועמדו למיטה וחיה, פותרין אותו, עמדו למיטה ויקל מה שהיה, עומדין אותו, עומד שני לממון. I'm going to share with you a moment a story about the ציץ אליעזר. ואם לאחר כן הכביד במד, הלך אחר עומד האמצעי. דיבר רבי נחמיה וחומרים אין עומד לאחר עומד. תניא אידך עמדו למיטה, עומדין אותו לחיים, לחיים עומדים אותו למיטה, עמדו למיטה ויקל מה שהיה, עומדין אותו עומד שני לממון, ולאחר מכן הכביד במד בשלם צער ונזק ליורשים. מתי משלם? משעה שעיקר. From the moment that the person, the servant is stuck him, וסתמק רבי נחמיה. Basically, he hold that he is liable to be executed even if there was a temporary improvement in his condition before he died. So the late Rabbi Waldenberg, the great Tzitz Eliezer, he was asked, we have which call now Nituach Lev Patuach, open heart surgery. So the doctor asked him a question, it happens sometimes that there is a unintentional medical, not negligence, it's human mistakes. So the fellow treated a open heart surgery and in turn the patient passed away. So he asked a question, is that din shel oreg treifa or not? Does that mean that he tempted who is a wounded or not? So Tzitz Eliezer said something fascinating. He brings the Rambam. The Rambam tells us that a person, Adam shonemi ve'ema, a person is very different treated than the animals. Why? Because you see the Metziut, you see tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands people. You have this concept that you take out the heart and you fix it, and the person continues to live for long life in a regular health condition, which means you cannot, based on this Rambam, the Rav Oldenberg said that you cannot call him treifa by any means. Therefore, it's just considering as koreg adam bari bishgaga, that he unintentional kill or murder a person who's total healthy. So therefore, is not by any means under that category. In general, I want to share with you the last halacha in that. It's a Rambam. Hilchot Rotzeach v'Shmirat HaNefesh, chapter 4. If a person strikes another with a powerful blow, the victim's condition is assessed. If the assessment is that he will live, the assailant is liable to remit 5 payments: damage, pain, humiliation, medical costs, and loss of livelihood. If the victim later died, the assailant is exempt from execution. If the assessment is that the victim will die, the assailant is incarcerated until the fate of the victim is determined. If he dies, the assailant is executed. If he completely recovers to the point that he is able to walk around in the marketplace like other healthy people, the assailant remits the 5 payments and is exempt from execution even if the victim later on dies. So obviously we should see more, not only in the Rambam but also in the case of Mishnah there.